All right, so our strategy, first of all, I think I should start at the outset and thank a whole bunch of faculty. We had 3,000 faculty members who were surveyed. We had, we had several hundred faculty from various countries who all contributed in helping us define the knowledge modules. We had practitioners who came in and validated some of the stuff we did. So really, and the project team at PMI, they put in a lot of effort, marketing, surveying, organizing. It just goes on and on and on. So I mean, I thank and I appreciate that, but I think the credit goes to all the faculty, the practitioners, and certainly the sponsorship from PMI. And of course, Carla did an outstanding job in scoping the project and helping us shape it the way it should have been shaped to begin with. So that's really good. You have the handout. So if you look at it, it gives you a bird's eye view of the knowledge, PMI knowledge base. I just want to clarify how this is different than another product which came out from PMI in 2002, which deals with this topic. I think as PMI members, you probably have free access to this. We have a lot of good stuff within the PMI resource library, which people are not leveraging. This one is called Project Manager Competency Development Framework. So this particular document, I think you have free access to it. It's something that you must leverage. You can look at it. It talks about the framework and the competency for a different kind of audience, not academic, not academia, not for raising the visibility of this profession, where we desperately need to do, and that is in every single college globally, every single department globally. What I mean by that is I've gone to PMI and I've asked PMI, I've come to many conferences, I've asked all the project managers, I've asked them, did you take project management in your undergraduate course? What's your background? Well, I'm an electrical engineer. Did you take project management as a course? You're electrical. The answer was no. Another student, I have a bachelor's in finance. I have a bachelor's in marketing. I have a bachelor's in commerce. Did you take an undergraduate course in project management? The answer was no. You go to the health sector, health informatics. You go any discipline, people who are developing software, all right, computer science people. We are living in one of the best locations here for computer science. I ask students who are now PMPs, who are leading major projects, working at large companies, did you take project management in your undergraduate curriculum? The answer is no. If I drill down even deeper and ask them, did you pick up some of the competencies you see in this handout? And the technical skills, did you learn Gantt chart? The answer was no. Do you know what a WBS came out? The answer was no. So the point is there's such a huge backlog of competency at the university level, globally. We're not just talking about any one university, globally, that needs to be addressed. So I was really happy to help with the development of the curriculum product. So it's a different product. I believe very strongly this is going to raise the productivity of the graduating students. As soon as they're employed, they will be comfortable to go running and start working on projects. They won't ask you, what's a WBS? They won't ask what a package is. They'll understand various ways to deal with conflict, at least at a theoretical level. So I think this is going to be pretty good. So I'll leave it up to you to go through the knowledge modules. Some of that will come out in Q&A when we get into it. I told Roger I want this to be question and answers, and we'll move forward with that. What you don't see inside that handout and what we are going to talk about with select faculty members interested in curriculum is go deeper into the knowledge modules, go into learning outcomes, and we'll talk briefly about assessment. So we don't go into that. But you have a handout which shows you what it looks like. So you have some idea what what a knowledge module looks like. There are 30 of them. There are topics, there are learning outcomes which clearly identify what we expect the students to come out of these. For example, the technical one looks like this. The website is, because PMI is a sponsor, if you click on the icon on your app, you will see the pmiteach.org. And at the bottom, you will see some details of the 30 knowledge modules. So you will see that. Here's an example of the technical module. Here's an example of the behavioral soft skill module. And you can see some of the question that came out earlier is, it'll be nice if the PMP exam, CAPM exam, and the other exams focus a little bit on the behavioral skills. These are all very important competencies. As Roger started off saying, Vijay is more the communication, soft skills person. I don't know why he allocated the technical track to me, but nevertheless, I think as a chair of the curriculum guidelines, I have to love all the domains, right? Technical and behavioral.
Like all your children.
Like all your children, okay. And the third one, of course, is the strategic and business. So we'll get into some discussion on that. So I'm basically done with my 2 cents worth. What you don't have, but if you get some time over the coffee break and lunch break, please browse through the volume 2 as well. Volume 2 answers the question how we plan to raise the competency bar and transferable skills level at colleges and universities all over the world. And that is to promote a free foundational course in project management called PMOne. Of course, this is relevant to all disciplines. That's the nice thing with project management, and it's easy for us to come up with a baseline. We have adapted that for different countries. We have adapted that for different domains. So if it's the engineering curriculum, you have a slightly different focus. If it's public health, it's different. If it's management, it's different. Computer science, their focus on software project management is different. But again, Roger deserves credit for showing leadership in pulling this, what will soon be globally recognized as a baseline to get colleges and universities teaching project management foundational concepts, so PM-1. All right, with this, Roger, I don't know how much time we have. Do we want to go into Q&A or, okay?
First, I need to introduce Alice. Okay, Alice Santiago, Director of the Program Management Office at Boston University.
Oh, sorry, the city of Boston.
Did I get promotion?
She's got a new mayor, so, you have to keep all your options open, right? Actually, the PMO website at the City of Boston is very interesting. They sponsor all sorts of webinars and announcements. They provide training to the city on local project management opportunities. They share information on city projects. They provide resources, articles, and keep the city up to date on standards and latest news. In other words, Alice runs a real program management office. She's also a graduate of our program, yes. Okay, so thank you, Alice, for coming today. So now we're going to open the floor to questions. You have microphones there. We have microphones in the room. And we have people, if you'd like to come up here, help me. We have online questions coming in as well. So we'll start with questions from the room. So here's something you can think about. I'll start with Alice then. Can you give us a sense of what you look for in potential employees of the City of Boston?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you all for being here. And to answer Roger's question, I actually want to go back a little bit further and earlier this morning in the question about soft skills versus hard skills. I'm on both their sides. If they had told me they were having this argument 10 years ago, I could have taken care of it. Both things are very necessary. However, when I look at trying to hire a project manager for the city of Boston, what was the first thing that I get to see? The resume, right? And the resume, I'm looking for, do they have a PMP certification or some other kind of certification? Have they taken time to take at least a course in project management? And that's going to give you the heads up that, you know, I may bring that person in to have a conversation about that particular position. The other thing that I'm looking for is some kind of experience. Now, for someone who's a recent graduate, of course, that's a little bit more difficult. But I do encourage you to go and do some internships. That goes a huge way for us to sort of think about what your skill set might be, for you to try to explain to us the kinds of things that you've done in the past. If you have been out in the market for a while, have been working for a while, what we're really looking for in terms of a senior project manager is someone who has expertise in a particular topic. So for example, Boston is rolling out wicket-free Wi-Fi across all of the neighborhoods. For that particular project manager, I needed someone with a technical knowledge on Wi-Fi, not someone that could actually install something, but that actually can have a conversation with the stakeholders, with the people in the team, with anyone else that they would need to talk to, such as the vendors. So really, we're looking at those kinds of things. So as you start working through your career as a project manager, start thinking about what you might want to specialize in, because that's going to make you much more marketable.
Thank you. Okay, we have a question from the online audience, from Joe Wadlinger. Vijay, this is right up your alley. If project managers have no direct authority over resources, do they lead or persuade?
All right, so it involves it involves a little bit of soft skills as well. So the question is, I think it takes me into the organizational structure, which falls in the third category of the triangle, dealing with organizational competency. So the question is, what kind of structure do you have? Do you have a balanced matrix structure? Do you have a weak matrix structure? Do you have a strong matrix structure? In a lot of places, Roger, we have seen that project managers are probably having a little bit of a weak matrix structure. So as such, they have to focus more on the behavioral domain. They have to leverage all the knowledge and skills they have on the motivation side, the negotiation side, give and take. For example, the soft skill, this goes into the soft skill. For example, what we have to do is try to understand what the line manager or functional manager wants. What would he or she be willing to do to give you more power within the context of resources? So it involves a little bit of understanding what the stakeholder wants and communicating with them and trying to address their needs. So it's just, I think, understanding the fact, the reality that, hey, you're in a weak matrix structure, and develop your behavioral skills and leverage them.
Right.
Good. But I'd like to, I'd like to talk about the challenge, since the focus of my session is also to develop competencies. This particular competency is very difficult to develop. For example, I give students an exercise on team building at the end of the project. Team building should be at the start, right? Trying to get the team to build. It's so difficult to get a team. It's so difficult to get a team to do this simple team building exercise, which you'll find, if you just Google, you'll find this team building exercise called look into someone's eye for 1 minute, no talking. All right. And they request you to do this team building exercise at the start. But I asked them at the start, if I do that, the student will probably drop out of the class. They'll say that guy was creepy, or, you know, I mean, this is, I don't know where the course is going next, you know, stare at each other, and, you know, the next team building exercise, if you watch some of the free tutorials, is to hold the person. And it's like, okay, I don't know where this is going, but I asked them another, you know, just to wrap this up, how difficult it is, even at the end of a class, to have people to bond. So team building is a challenge when even the project is over. They can't do a simple thing like look at the team member's eyes for 1 minute. Yep.
So I have it's a question maybe that you can all answer, and maybe even Michael. And so my name is Kristen Farrar, and I work at a pharmaceutical company, similar to Heather, but I'm in IT, and I am responsible for technology projects, but I'm not the project manager. It's not my role. So what I'm finding as a student of BU in the online program is that now I have the theories and the academics behind, and PMI is growing that as well as making our students smarter. What do we do when the existing PMO has many project managers who are accidental project managers at best? So they don't have the academics behind them. They don't have the understanding of aligning strategy. They don't have the understanding of even following processes. But they're an existing PMO that I don't have any leadership role in. So how do I influence an existing PMO that's been around for years and thinks they're doing a good job, but aren't following any of the theories that we've been learning?
Good question, Alice.
Yeah, Alice.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well,
It takes a second to delay. There's a 1 second delay.
hello. I think that's a great answer, a great question. And a lot has to do with the culture in your business. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you ought to go like this, Yeah, yeah.
Like that? Okay. Like I said, a lot has to do with the culture. And are you part of the PMO or
Not at all.
not at all?
But
Okay.
I'm required to use them for all of my global projects.
Okay. So what I find is that absolutely there's a lot of accidental project managers out there that really don't have the language, the skill sets that you are now learning by going through the program. And it's really maybe, I don't know if you have a kind of relationship with the PMO director to go up to him or her and offer your services. I mean, one of the things that we do a lot in Boston is we provide training for our accidental project managers to bring them up to a level that we're all speaking the same language. So maybe that's something that you can offer as a skill set that may not be available at the moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can add something to that. I'm curious how your organization performs on projects. Are the projects meeting their original business intent, goals, on time, on budget?
You want to take the
realizing
fifth on that
benefits?
one?
It takes a second.
There we go. I'd love to answer that question because of the knowledge that I now have after going through the program. I was recently in a meeting, and the new leader of the PMO, I was talking about instituting some process, so we're moving that direction. He brought up a metric and said that he identified 6 over $1 million projects, which is small, but in a pharmaceutical company, that's actually big for us. And he used his project management office to run the projects. So these are existing project managers that have been working at this company for 5-7 years. Only 2 of them actually had a written project plan. That's for $1 million projects. Only 2 out of 6 actually had a written down project management plan. So there was no documentation, no artifacts, nothing for any of these projects. And many of them failed. And even he identified, oh, well, there's the gap. So they are identifying that there's a gap, but a lot of people have been working for a long time and they don't want to change. Nobody wants to change. So
Yeah.
it's hard to influence that, and soft skills are going to be needed to
Yeah.
sort of influence that.
And I think that's where, whether it's a PMO director or even project manager, when I talked about learning to speak the language that the executive understands. They understand dollars and cents and loss and profit. And I think that in your case, which is not unusual, I think it's a matter of laying out a good rationalization for formalizing the role of project manager, defining career paths for those individuals to ensure that you're able to retain them, retain the knowledge that they have. And I think ultimately with the outcome being seeing a higher level of success in project execution, which is going to help certainly with the bottom line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carla?
I wanted to just ask you a question. Excuse me, I don't know your name. Kristen, hi. How long has the PMO been in existence, one, and what's the defined role? Because PMOs have different roles in different organizations and in different industries. So how do you know how long it's been around and what the role is supposed to be, or at least theoretically?
So I'll add more complexity. So we are recently integrating as a global company. So global is one thing, but an integrated global company is a different thing. So we are just starting the integration process. And with this integration process, the PMO, this is an IT PMO. And so that I'm looking at, or at least I'm focusing on at this point. And so I would say the PMO at this office that we've just integrated with has been around for about 5 or 7 years, existing and running their own projects. So Boston is just coming on board with Deerfield or Chicago, and the PMO is run out of Chicago. And we're finding differences between the two locations alone. Not to toot our own horn, be you in Boston, but we found those differences. Alignment to processes is different in the two different locations, or it could just be the two different corporations that have now merged and integrated have different processes. We're a little process stronger in our existing organization. Yeah, so she's asking, for those online, if there's a clinical PMO. And yes, there is. And I have very little insight into that because I'm on the other side. I'm in preclinical area. So I don't really, but that is a very robust program because it's important. Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm just, for the people online, I'm sure they can't hear. But to leverage what the clinical PMO has done and what processes have, it would have to be a successful company. Correct. Right. Yeah. Thank you. That's an excellent opportunity.
We have an interesting question here. Does anybody have the problem of IT PMs and business PMs not talking to each other? Anybody like to comment? Just reality. I guess we hit a nerve.
Roger, is that similar to engineers and business schools not talking to each other about project management?
Fortunately, yes. And you may as well throw into that. We have 17 colleges and schools at Boston University. Metropolitan College is one of them. We probably don't talk to the other 16, unfortunately.
Hi, my name's Allie Corvino. I'm a manager of 9 project managers, project administrators. 7 of them are by accident. So my question to start out is, where would you send me? That my company's not going to pay for everybody to go through the program, so I'm dipping my feet in to train the trainer so I can start bringing up their levels of project management. We basically, it's administrative PMs, we're not construction PMs, and we make money despite ourselves, which is amazing. So where would you lead me to start digging into the core pieces that I can start training my staff?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
So-
want to take that?
Yeah, so I can tell you how I started. When I started with the program management office, there's basically just 2 of us. It was the first program management office the city of Boston has ever had. So we were starting clean slate, right? So we did our research and we tried to figure out how do we start bringing this knowledge into the city of Boston and start making changes in the behavior of how projects were actually happening. So we hired a PMP, and we sat down and we started writing the curriculum. We decided to go broad rather than deep, really explain how do you start a project all the way to how you close a project. And we started developing our own curriculum. In addition to that, I heard about the project management certification at BU, because Boston has a great relationship with Boston University. And I said, gee, that looks really interesting, but I'm not really going to recommend people to go to something that I really don't know anything about. So I jumped in and took the certification and finished the certification, was very happy with it, and then started promoting it within the city of Boston. And now we've had quite a few people actually come, get the certification, and then go on to get their PMPs. So it's a combination of your core staff getting their skill sets up and higher, and for you then to be able to provide training to them. Now, do you have an opportunity where you can really sort of require training, if people have to come to training?
Yes, but on a limited basis. We're, Rome's burning. We've still got to continue the projects that, and each person has anywhere from 25 to 50 projects going at one time in various sizes of $5,000 to, $1 million, depending on the person and skill set.
So then in that case, what I would recommend is one of the things that we did is, if you have very limited staff, is decide what kind of project you want to start with. Large projects, medium projects, small projects. And try to provide a curriculum for how do you manage that within your organization, and then focus on those project managers first, and then move on to others.
Thank you.
I have a comment from the online crew. Teresa Mullen, who's an MBA and a PMP, interesting. And she says, they keep typing. Sorry. She says, I work with IT PMs on the functional side, and there are also accidental PMs. Actually, 3 or 4 years ago, the conference theme was accidental PMs. That was a really interesting one, too. And it says, I've been fortunate to work with those who are open to collaboration, but that has not always been the case. Very discreet.
Roger?
I'd like to just answer a question on, you probably want to leverage faculty or experts and bring them in-house. We have quite frequently gone as guest speakers over the lunch break, and if you identify some topics, for example, let's raise the awareness of risk analysis, you will find a professor who will be very happy to give a talk. All we want is a pizza slice, and we are happy with it. So that's a good way to bring in some experts. And so this is after what Alice has suggested. But you certainly want 1 or 2 people who are well grounded in the education and are certified, both.
And we've done that, and it's been very successful.
Okay. Did you somebody? Yes.
Yeah.
John.
Hi, name's John Lax. I have in terms of stakeholders of these new knowledge modules, what are students saying about their desire to make a choice in pursuing something like project management post-grad? Whereas when I was growing up, I felt, I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a firefighter, I wanted to be a doctor. I wondered what students were saying about them being in a pre-grad situation, that I want to grow up and I want to be a project manager. Just wondering, what's the appetite for that right now?
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We find a lot of the students that come into the program are experimenting. Interesting statistics, the average student in our class is 35 and female, because the females outnumber the males. Okay, she has a family, she's doing a master's degree or a certificate, and doesn't take any crap. So these are hardworking students, and they're experimenting. And they get halfway through the first project management class, and they say, wow, this is kind of cool. And many of them turn and go on and do the program. So a lot of people come in experimenting. Maybe they wanted to be, firemen at one point. And we turn them into project managers.
And your question is undergraduate or graduate?
It was undergraduate, actually. I felt
undergraduate.
at that point.
All right. So at the undergraduate level, when we were designing the curriculum, we decided to focus more on the interdisciplinary aspect. So I think we need to, I think we have to recognize and understand that the student will be successful if they are well grounded in one of the academic domains.
Vijay, can
yeah.
I add something
Sure,
to that?
go ahead.
Yeah. When we talked about who would benefit from this curriculum, we thought about three groups in particular. One was obviously colleges and universities that either had already expressed interest in teaching it, or us raising the awareness that because there's so much demand in the marketplace, and because legislatures, particularly in North America, are now demanding that universities attend to the job prospects of their graduates, that they would be interested both in responding to that and raising their own tuition dollars. If you can bring more people in who are interested in something, the university is going to do well because they have tuition dollars. The second group we said, you know, who could benefit would be employers, because when we talk to large organizations who hire project managers or you got to start somewhere. So they come to the job as a project team member. So they come in and, you know, that's not what the job description says necessarily, but when they get there, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be assigned to a team. So we say, okay, to the employers, with this curriculum, one of the things that you as an employer get is a more project-ready workforce. And then finally, there's the student. Well, what distinguishes you in the marketplace? So what distinguishes me coming out of a sociology program, and you from a business, and you from an engineering, or you from whatever it might be? Well, if I have some project management knowledge to begin with, I'm ready to join a team at least. I may not be ready to manage one, but I know what they're talking about. I know what a Gantt chart is. I know the technical stuff. Behavioral things now I've learned about in class, but the interesting thing about the behavioral modules is, as we all know, leadership is something you can teach, but there's also a component. Students don't come to classes as empty vessels. They've already had some ethical training, either by design or by absorption, just osmosis. There are all those things. But one of the things we thought about, too, was, you know, we're giving them exposure to a possible new career path that they may not have known about before. Because people, as you said, people don't grow up thinking, oh, gee, I want to manage a project. Because projects are interdisciplinary and cross-cut fields. So what they think about is the field or the industry rather than the role. So this is kind of a secondary gain of the curriculum, I think anyway, which is, you know, a student will start to take these courses. They can distinguish themselves in the marketplace, but they become exposed to the idea of project manager as a defined professional role that they had no idea really existed before. Because you don't meet people. I mean, as a student, you don't meet people necessarily where you say, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm an Indian chief, but I'm not, you know, people don't say I'm a project manager in a manufacturing firm or a pharmaceutical firm or what have you. But I think that's a secondary gain of it, and I think it's a really good question that you ask, because it's not something that was formalized and designed that way, but it's something that comes out unexpectedly. So it's an unanticipated consequence.
Thank you.